Hi, I'm Michael Figura, and welcome to this ADAPT tutorial, ADAPT Plugins for Advanced Developers. In this tutorial, we're going to walk through the key features that developers need to be aware of in order to start building plugins. This is a shorter video catering to more experienced developers who don't require a full code walkthrough, so we'll just be reviewing some code snippets and focusing on a few key points and programming constructs. Our objectives for this tutorial are to better familiarize ourselves with the ADAPT framework and to dig into the example plugin code a bit in order to take a look at and better understand the most important programming concepts within ADAPT. Let's start by discussing a few important concepts in ADAPT that you'll need to be aware of. Firstly, you can write ADAPT plugins using either the full .NET library or the newer core library, which is currently called .NET Standard. The ADAPT framework works perfectly well with both. Next, and before you write a line of code, you and your team should take a moment to decide the licensing model for your plugin. Is your plugin free? Is it open source? Or perhaps you intend to earn money and there will be fees associated with licensing your plugin. No matter what the case, it's best to figure this out early on and begin preparing for your licensing model in advance. Roughly 80% of the work you will be performing when writing a plugin will be mapping your data correctly to the ADAPT model. So knowing your data is extremely important, and we'll take a look at some mapping examples shortly. Finally, you can install the ADAPT framework resources and DLLs manually, but it's best to use the package manager to install the latest ADAPT NuGet files. The package manager makes life a lot easier. Now let's look at some data mapping examples. On the right-hand side of this table, you'll see our example plugin object, which represents proprietary farm field information that might come from a third-party data file or possibly from a controller or field equipment. It consists of clients, farms, fields, and crop data. On the left, you'll see how each of those objects maps to the appropriate ADAPT object within the ADAPT framework. And for each crop assignment, we map to the ADAPT crop zone. All of the other objects map over quite well. This is the exact mapping used in our example plugin, but for your results, when writing your own custom plugin, it might vary quite a bit from this example. Now let's jump into Visual Studio and take a look at some key coding concepts. I've got the example plugin project open, and you'll notice right away that I've got two NuGet packages installed, including the ADAPT framework as well as the Newtonsoft JSON library for handling JSON data. Let's open the plugin CS file. You'll notice this is the area where you can add some detailed information about your plugin, including the name, version, and owner. This is also where we implement the iPlugin interface and run the import method. In our example, we loop through a directory of JSON input files and run our data mapper for each file. The important line here is line 35, where we make the actual use of our data mapper object, so let's open the data mapper file next. This is where knowing your data in advance is critical because the data mapper object maps from our proprietary object model to the ADAPT objects. Here we have a series of for each statements, each one mapping the appropriate objects, starting with top-level clients, then crops, then crop assignments. If we open the client farm field mapper.cs file, we can see that we're mapping clients to growers within the ADAPT framework. What we're actually passing in as the variable myClient is an instance of our custom object model found in our publisher data model folder in the client data CS file below. This is a very basic custom object model that deserializes perfectly with our JSON input file and has a hierarchy of clients, farms, and fields. It's that easy to map our data to ADAPT, but it can be a bit more challenging depending on the format of your custom data. Thanks for watching this plugin tutorial. Until next time, happy ADAPT data mapping.